Good afternoon and welcome once again to our weekly walk through the garden. My name is Shalina Durkot, horticulturist and garden coordinator at UT Gardens in Crossville. Today we're going to talk about the Andy Taylor Shade Garden. Not named after the Andy Griffith Show, but two of our summer interns that did the initial plantings in this plot. As you can see, our shade garden is created by the canopy of the hemlock trees. I will tell you it was quite trying to plant some of these plants beneath the trees because of surface roots. I do get questioned a lot about how much topsoil can you bring in to plant underneath a tree canopy when you have root competition. The answer is you really shouldn't be bringing in a bunch of topsoil because just like you and I, the trees need water and oxygen. If you come and bring in a bunch of topsoil, you can actually suffocate the tree roots. They need room to breathe, and that could also affect the uptake of the water. So if you could incorporate it, you could maybe add a couple inches of soil, but in my opinion, the better thing to do is get a good quality topsoil, and then I just amended the individual planting holes. Another thing we've done is top dress it annually from our compost bin. I've had better luck starting with small herbaceous plants as opposed to larger size containers or trees and shrubs. So if you start with a smaller container, you're going to have a lot easier time getting those planted, and then you probably might have to still move your plants around so you're not disturbing the root system of the tree too much. Some of the plants you can see back here that we have, a lot of hosta. Hosta is a great shade plant, really versatile. We have some here on the plateau that have done well with quite a bit of sun exposure as well. But they're very easy to grow. They multiply like crazy. You see how large this clump is, and even some of these others. So it's easy to dig and divide those and share with your friends. Ideally, I would like to do that, in the spring when they first emerge, but I've dug large plants before and divided them and then replanted, and they've thrived just as well. Hostas, they have different sizes. Typically your bloom colors are going to be either lavender or white, but they have an abundance of different foliage textures and colors. There's blue, green, gold, even a solid white one I saw recently in a catalog. My favorite are the variegated ones. They have white and green variegation, green and gold, blue and white variegation, blue and gold. This pretty gold one with the blue-green margins is called Remember Me. It's a nice variegated variety. And then this one is a good example, Gary's Prayer, of the different foliage texture and shape. See how skinny these leaves are? A very different look of your typical hosta. A couple other nice hostas we have here is Hadspin Blue. This one stays pretty compact, traditional blue-green colored leaf, and then a smaller lavender bloom. And even with the bloom stalks, this one won't exceed about 18 inches. And then another variegated one, this one is called Vulcan. It's a sport of Captain Kirk, and it really has some vibrant coloration with that variegated foliage. Ferns are another popular shade plant. This one here is Ghost Fern. It's a Ethereum. Ghost Fern is a cross between the lady fern and Japanese painted fern. This one has really erect fronds, and you can see the nice silvery foliage of that one as well. Here's a lady fern called Dre's Dagger, and this one is really cool because of the unique tufts that it has at the end of the fronds. Well, I keep saying every other plant is my favorite, but I do think the Japanese painted fern is probably my favorite hardy fern. This one, the Japanese painted fern, has the nice silvery fronds, but then the stems are a nice burgundy or purple. And then if you'll notice, the new growth is even more deep purple or burgundy. These go nicely if you plant them alongside maybe some of the heucheras with the nice plum or purple colored foliage. This is a native fern called maidenhair fern, and you may see these when you're hiking out in the woods and the mountains. Arborvitae fern is really neat because it looks just like the conifer arborvitae, has very similar looking foliage. Holly fern is another very different looking fern, and this one is evergreen. Shall see here on the plateau if it stays green through our winter months. We are the coldest research station in the state, and so it's a good place to check for hardiness of all things that we grow, as well as see if things that are proven to stay green at the other gardens will do so as well here. Lenten rose is a proven evergreen perennial here on the plateau, and other gardens as well. But it has come a long way as far as the different foliage types and coloration and bloom colors. There used to be hidden droopy blooms, and then the colors were kind of a pale, like a lime green or white or a dusty rose, if you will. Now they have red and pink and purple and yellow, bicolor blooms, speckled blooms, double blooms. So the Lenten rose is really a nice addition to your shady garden. Astilbe, this one has an abundance of different color blooms. There's red, pink, purple, white, peach, and variations in between. They typically grow anywhere from 12 to 24 inches and bloom in the early summer months. Solomon Sill, another variegated variety, one of my favorites. This one also gets little white bell-shaped blooms in the spring. And Heuchera, this one is one that's been around for a long time, tried and true, Palace Purple. This one has a green or burgundy colored foliage. This one, along with some other heucheras with that purple or burgundy foliage, is a nice pair with the Japanese painted fern. But your heucheras, your heucherellas, your tiarellas, they have so many different colors. A nice ground cover for the shade is Lamium. This one with the white bloom is called White Nancy. Sun King Aurelia is definitely worth mentioning, and it has this brilliant golden foliage, also this year's perennial plant of the year. Some of you may recall when I featured it in the monthly newsletter with the Violetta azalea, which blooms beautiful purpley pink, a nice contrast with the gold foliage of the Aurelia. With the challenges of planting and root competition beneath the trees, or if you just need to get some added color in your shade garden, you can do that with container gardening. In this case, we just have a decorative wheelbarrow, and I have some seasonal color. In this case, there's some coleus and dragonwing begonias. But you can even add color to your shade garden with colorful pots. Maybe add a bright pop of blue or red, or add additional color than just your seasonal color or blooming plants. Rainbow Leucothoe is one of the few shrubs we have planted in the shade garden. This is evergreen. It also has a really neat, like mottled variegated foliage that you'll notice. The new growth comes out a dark red, and then it turns bronze before it turns green. And then in addition to that, it has a fall color as well, a nice vibrant red or burgundy fall color. Pieris japonica, these are the other shrubs we managed to get planted in this garden. As you can see, we started out with really small containers. These were only the 1 gallon size, and they're slow growers. This particular variety, Valley Rose, can grow 3 to 5 feet in time. It has little white, I think the Valley Rose is actually more of a deep pink to red bell-shaped blooms in the spring, and they're very fragrant. Again, like with the Leucothoe, you get the red new growth, and then it bronzes out, and then will eventually turn green. That wraps it up for our shade garden today, and stay tuned for next week's walk through the garden.